Hello, welcome. If you don't know who I am or don't recognize this face, my name is Annalicia, and on this channel I go by Love in Motion. Today we will be discussing the topic of failure, specifically if we are failing at life.
I can't do it! I can't do it, Mr. Krabs! I'm a failure!
I have definitely been avoiding making this video because why? Because I feel like a failure. Why do I feel this way? Well, a lot of it has to do with not being able to provide for myself and feeling like every direction that I go, I keep running into a wall. Let's explain. I moved all the way across the country to 1,000 miles away. I went from Wisconsin to Arizona with just a friend, and originally when I was planning to come here, I was supposed to switch my career into aviation, being a flight attendant. Basically, they just kept running me through the mud and switching my dates, and eventually I declined their offer because they offered me in January and they weren't going to have me train until like July or June. I saved up some money, clearly not enough. So if you're planning on moving, save more. You can never have enough. I get to Arizona and I think I have a job lined up. I got this job at a marketing firm. I was excited about it. It was working with nonprofits and it was working with people relatively my age. Score. The pay wasn't great, but I could take the pay cut if I enjoyed working because I really struggle with employment. And where I work has a big effect on my well-being. It just does. I have severe anxiety. I have severe depression. It's why I chose to move to the desert where the sun is always out. And prepping to go to this job, it's the night before and I'm having such bad anxiety. I just have this bad feeling, and usually my bad feelings are pretty correct. I arrived to this job. The work environment is really incredible. It's high energy. The people are lovely. And I'm like, okay, I could do this every day. I could see myself here. I like that. I'm excited. But mind you, this is just part of my day. This is just the office. We end up going out into the field, and this is where things get really dark. Actually, they get very bright because they have me outside in August in Arizona when it's 115 degrees asking people for donations for a nonprofit that I got assigned to that I actually don't even really have much connection to. Yeah, no. Expeditiously. I'm not making enough money. This is physically demanding. And I don't want to be here. Now I'm back at square one. And what can I do? I have a lot of experience in customer service. I worked a lot in the food industry. So I start applying to these jobs. They usually hire quick. I need the money. I find this job. They hire me right away. And it is at a breakfast place, so a restaurant. And I begin training. And it is not going well. Mind you, I know that I'm a little slow. It takes me a little bit longer to catch on to things sometimes. This specific place runs their business vastly different than any place I've ever worked before, and their focus is on efficiency and not customer service. This is very different for me. My previous job, I made all my money because of customer service because I can talk. I got a mouth on me. That's why I'm talking right now. My anxiety starts to kick up high. I'm starting to feel miserable. I'm like not feeling great about myself because I don't like being bad at things. I keep making mistake after mistake. So I eventually go to management and I'm like, hey, for some reason this is not working out. I don't know why I'm not catching on to this. Like, I've worked in the service industry so long, like it shouldn't be this bad for me. And he's like, well, you can either try or you cannot come in tomorrow. So I was like, okay, let me get it together. We're gonna get it together. We're gonna figure this out. I end up working there for another week, still having the same issue, mistake after mistake after mistake. My self-worth dwindling. I feel horrible. I am miserable. So it's a really busy day, and I keep making mistake after mistake. My manager pulls me aside and fires me. I've never been fired from a job before. I've been working for over a decade. I've never been fired before. I've always left my employers on good terms. Always. I am feeling like crap. I just got fired, and now I'm back at square one, and I'm broke because I gotta pay my rent. I gotta pay these bills. So I'm back at square one. I'm applying to all of these jobs, but I'm like, I can't do the service industry again. Like, in my head, I'm like, no. So I'm applying to these remote jobs. I'm excited because I hear back from one of them. They basically tell me that they don't have any more positions. For a month, I've been door dashing to make ends meet, but I've just been feeling so crappy about myself because why can't I just have a stable job? Or why can't my YouTube that I've been doing while I've been here kick off? I just want to do something that is purposeful to me.
Word today is job. J-O-B.
In order to understand why I feel like such a failure today, I think it's important for me to discuss where the dominoes fell to lay out this path of failure for me. So I'm 27 years old, so I've lived some life, right? We have to go all the way back to college, because your girl is college educated, partially. I was out in the world, right? I was excited. I was big-eyed. I love learning, so I was excited about it, but for some reason, I would sit at blank computer screens and not finish my assignments and just stare at things for hours. And maybe it's because I think I have ADHD, and I don't want to just be like excuse central, because I am not technically diagnosed with ADHD. I've come into adulthood, I really think I have it. I have a lot of the symptoms, but at the time I wasn't aware of that. And so I was really hard on myself. I thought I was lazy. I thought that there was something wrong with me, that there's something wrong with my brain. And it just got overwhelming, and it again started to affect my internal dialogue. I keep linking my self-worth to all these like external things, right? Like my accomplishments, if I can do this, if I can do that. And I just kept failing at them. And I got to the point in college where I knew that if I continued on, that my self-worth would dwindle so hard that I was actually having thoughts about taking my life. And so I told my family, I cannot continue. I need at least a break. So I did take a break, and I tried to go back because I was hoping that with finding, tools, that I would be able to finish school. Again, I was just having the same issues. So I did the thing again, and I did not return, and I dropped out for the second time. College was an interesting time for me. When I stopped going, I actually moved into an apartment all by myself. It was the first time that I had ever lived alone, and during this time I did a lot of like deep healing and a lot of like soul searching. I got really deep into spirituality, and I also just started creating. Like I was creating so much because I needed to. I was going to poetry events, I was going to model meetups, I was going to all of different kinds of events in my city, and I was getting connected with creative people in this life that I had never connected with before, right? Like in high school and in college, somewhat in college, I was going to poetry stuff, but like I didn't fully connect those roots. I felt so passionate about it. And around this time too is when I started incessantly watching YouTube, because I was getting comfortable being alone. I was alone a lot, and I found these friends online, and I used to watch YouTube actually as a kid. I actually reconnected with it because I used to follow Andrea Russett on YouTube when I was like in middle school, and I don't know how I stayed connected with her. Maybe on Instagram. I started watching her YouTube channel, and from there I started watching all of these creators, and I really fell in love with creating in general, and not just like content creation, but just like sharing poetry, my writing, my face, like through modeling, photography. At that time I met some people in my community, and at the time I was working as a go-go dancer at a local club, and I was asked to come and do a workshop for women at this event that they were hosting because they were trying to be a collective. And I remember it so specifically because I felt so connected to them. I loved what they were doing. I loved like what they wanted for their events, and like how they went about doing the events, the way that they spoke to me, the way they spoke about the events and what they wanted to help people with. And I remember feeling like a little alienated because I wanted to be a part of this collective so bad, and they had never asked me to be a part of it. And eventually they did ask me to be a part of it because I feel like we were all so connected within that time. And so this collective became a group of 4 of us. And we wanted to host events to help people heal, help bring people together. Where I was living at the time, Milwaukee is the most segregated city in America, and so we wanted a place for people to feel safe no matter like what their race or ethnicity was. Eventually we decided to create an event to see like how our collective would work in the community. So we organized this event. It went really well. We had some yoga, we had some singing bowls and some meditation. We had poetry readers come. It was like a whole 3-hour. It was called Metamorphosis, the chapters of trauma release. Really rewarding and fulfilling, and I finally felt like I had a purpose in life, and somewhere where I didn't feel like a failure at the time. I really felt like it was my calling, and so we ended up trying to make this work. And there was a little bit of issues that we were having, and it came down to 2 of us really being serious because we really wanted to make this a career, a business, something that we can actually tangibly do for people. And so we started my business, in which I've had for 5 years. I'm so grateful for my business, but I do feel like a failure with it because I feel like I could have been doing more. I feel like we could be farther along. I feel like I wasn't doing enough because we've never made a profit from my business. And I wish that I could tell you that we did, and I wish that I could tell you that right now my business was flourishing, but it's not. I moved 2,000 miles away from roots of this business. And so I do feel like a failure because I never want to give up on it, and I will never give up on it. I can promise you, mark my words on that. But I do feel like I could have done more, that we could be further along, but we had so many obstacles along the way, along the path, and maybe there was routes that we should have taken. I don't know, but planning events was like the greatest thing that I've ever done. And it's not just events, like we curated spaces. I'm just gonna insert a video so like you can understand the work that we were doing.
Renaissance Bitches is reclaiming what has been ripped away from people of color and labeled inadequate. For us, Renaissance Bitches is a movement, a rebirth of personal purpose with the support of an expansive community. It is taking control and living life on your own terms. We are indoctrinated to believe that we need to fit one mold or that our visions for the future are too complicated. Our goal is to eradicate those beliefs by cultivating a culture that honors the stories and lives of our patrons. Our programming is carefully designed to provide resources for those who are looking for a way to take their livelihoods into their own hands. The purpose of each of our opportunities is to guide others into living holistically. We believe spaces filled with creativity and safety will lead to tangible changes in our community.
That you can see like how passionate and how much I wanted something, and for it to never come to fruition the way that I envisioned it, the way that we envisioned it, is like hard, and it's a hard reality. And you know, to this day it's like hard when people ask me about it, and we haven't done an event in over a year. But life keeps lifing, and so I will never give up on it. I can tell you that now. And like there's things that I'm still doing behind the scenes that no one will ever see. And it's like part of the reason I moved here was for my business and things that I don't need to explain to you, but it doesn't make me feel like a failure. And I just want people to know that like there's so many things that happen in life, but they teach us so many lessons.